Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with Rocks and Stocks News Show. Got a weekend show for you here. What I'm going to do today is I had some interviews that I want to kind of give you an overview of. Also got some news out on companies that we followed closely in the reports that I wanted to discuss. Got a company that's been on my mind a lot lately that I'll talk about. And then we got a group that are pending news. I'm going to deal with all of those today. Why don't I get right into a screen share here? And the first chart I want to bring up is good old gold. Look at that. Triple bottom in September, October, November. Significant breakout, well above the 50-day, well above the 200-day. In early January, it's going through a golden cross. I think we're setting up for an exceptional year. The January effect is looking very strong for gold. And I think it's contrary to what's happening with the US dollar, which is on a decline at the same rate that gold is going up. And, you know, those two are locked when in doing the opposite. When the US dollar is strong, gold's weak. When gold's strong, the US dollar is usually weak. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. I think that there's many factors of what the US dollar is under pressure. The Federal Reserve and their interest rate hikes to try to beat down inflation that they're not doing a very good job of. They're starting to break things. You've got the U.S. housing sales have fallen off a cliff. The yield on the yield curves are all inverted. Lots of things to be worried about, and then you add on it that the infinite or lack thereof wisdom of the politicians. They're fighting over the debt limit now. I think it's a bit of a farce that they even have a debt limit. Politicians love to spend money, and you know, they don't like to have any restraint. And it's what's a farce is that they're fighting over it because they, like they always do, they'll raise it. And so these things are all putting gold in a very strong position, and I think we're going to have an exceptional year. Silver, same boat, actually outperforming as it often does. It goes down more in a bear market, goes up faster in a bull market. As you can see here, it went through its golden cross ahead of gold by about 3 weeks, and trading above its 50-day, trading above its 200-day, looking really solid. Copper is another one that I love to follow because got some copper stories out there I follow. Actually, I'm going to talk about a couple of copper deals today. And look at copper on a very strong, just went through a golden cross right there, trading well above the 50-day, well above the 200-day, and looking very solid. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the companies that I had interviews with this week. A new company for my audience is Goliath Resources. They had news out on January 9th that got the stock quite punished, even went through a death cross. And I looked at the news. Where's the Goliath news? Let me see if I can quickly find it here. Let me pull it up. So Goliath had out news that I thought was pretty darn good. And surprisingly, the stock got hammered. So here's their news release. They intersected 13.5 grams of gold over 11 meters within the Sherbet zone, averaging 6.3. The Sherbet zone area averages 6.31 grams of gold equivalent over 6.8 meters. So they've got something really serious here, and I was really happy to meet with their management. I just put the interview out today, and what's really got me interested is they showed a nice model of the zones that they have, and it's a series of stacked zones. with excellent grades of gold in it. But what also stands out to me, not only do they have these stacked zones, there's a association to the faulting, and there's a network of faulting, and they're getting gold on both sides of the fault, even in the fault. And as they're following it down, these faults come together. I think that in their next round of drilling in the spring, that they're going to get after that network of faulting and keep expanding on the known zones. But everything I see tells me that this company is sitting on a multi-million ounce gold target here, and getting it on the 52-week low right now. So I think that it was a good timely pick to have them on the show. And I'm not going to go much more into it because we did a pretty thorough interview that you can find on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or you can also go to my Substack, which is rocksandstocks.substack.com. Alrighty, so the next company I want to talk about is Athena. Athena, let me pull up their news release. So on January 10th, Athena confirms by the way, this is a new sponsor of the show. I'm glad to have them as a sponsor because I really like what they've got going on their project in Western Nevada. Athena Gold confirms and extends shallow high-grade oxide gold discovery with multiple intercepts, including 10 grams of gold over 10.7 meters. So they had a series of results that you can see there, but I'm going to go down to this map because this really starts to show how things are taking shape. You got a very nice hit of gold in here, very nice hit down here, very nice hit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, very nice intersection throughout here, and then another nice one here, and they ended in mineralization at the end of this hole. So something's taking shape there that looks like it could have some legs to the size of it. And in their geophysics, this is where they drilled. I think it could be associated to some of these faults. I've got to do a little more homework on that through my Google Earth. But also what's quite exciting is over here, they need to expand this grid of geophysics. But as you can see, there's a pretty significant geophysical anomaly taking shape there, here, and it continues. So what I'm seeing is I see a couple of faults, one that's kind of north and south, and one that goes east and west, and they are intersecting each other right here, which is very close to this geophysical anomaly. I think as they expand that grid, this anomaly will become more apparent. And I think that there's something interesting going on along here that you can also see the makings of in the geophysics. What this is associated with still remains to be seen, but I sure like to see these grades in this gold distribution in the hole, or in the three holes that they've done now. Yeah, it's taking shape as a new, exciting discovery in Nevada. Was really glad to have them join my show sponsorship program. And I just put that interview out yesterday. So you can, again, go to my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or go to my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com for that interview so you can learn more about Athena. Next company is 9 Mile Metals. You've heard me talk a lot about this company because I'm very excited about what they've found in the one of the most important VMS mining camps in the world, actually, in the Bathurst mining camp in New Brunswick. They've found a couple of very important lenses of massive sulfides. One is at their 9 Mile Brook project. There they hit a a thick lens with high grade. Actually, we got it pointed out here on this map. The lens, and it's got high grade and it's thick lens, and it's open to find the source of where that came from. And they've got some geophysical anomalies that stand out pretty much to me, that also coincide with some structural stories. As you can see here, there's a northwest trend, and then there's a hinge to that trend. And over here somewhere is where they found the lens. You know, when you get a thick lens like that with high grade, it usually has a nearby source that's also thick and with high grade, simply because you're at the top of the VMS system. And the closer you get to the heat engine, the higher the grade's going to be. So I'm really excited about this geophysics. In fact, I would advise you to go and check out that interview I did with the guys, because you can learn a lot more than just they shine some light on, you know, what this 3D modeling work that they're doing. And they had a 3D model that they were moving around, and you could start to see how things are starting to take shape in a 3 dimensions. So not just east to west, north to south, but at depth as well. In addition to the 9 Mile Brook lens, 20 kilometers away, they hit massive sulfides at the top of a VMS system. That one looks to have, they still got to find the source of that one as well. So, you know, this is elephant country of a VMS camp. They're finding new occurrences of massive sulfides. Those occurrences, they still have to find the source of where they came from. The grades at the very top of the system are very exciting. Yeah, I think they've got the ability to find those sources, as well as find more massive sulfide occurrences. So this is my favorite copper base metal exploration story. Yeah, as you can see, the trend did very well in 2022. It's trading right in between its 50-day and its 200-day moving average. They should be cranking up drilling, so they're going to have a lot of news flow to help this trend continue to be very strong. I invite you to check out that interview as well. A new company also that recently became a sponsor is a company called Dynasty Gold. Look at the results that these guys put out. On January 16th, they announced 1.5 meters of 246 grams of gold. And that was part of a 3-meter intersection that was 101 grams per gold. They hit 12.5 meters of 25.66 grams of gold. Just some really quite exceptional stuff. And this is in an orogenic gold system that has me very excited, because, you know, in these orogenic gold systems, they have their thick cracks in the earth that are crustal, and they go very, very deep. And that's what the conduit for the high or the gold mineralization to make its way up to surface. Now, the deeper you go into these kind of systems, the closer you get to the heat engine, and therefore the grade goes up. And, you know, in a lot of cases, you have to go down well under 500 meters in these important orogenic gold camps throughout the world in order to get into those jewelry box hits or bonanza grade hits. And these guys are getting them in the first 150 meters. Now, of course, what happens when a company makes important news like this is you'll see a lot of hot money come in. It just went straight parabolic. And then it's been people have, I mean, you've got a long period here where, you know, people are probably taking some profits. They got tired of holding on to it. But on Friday, it actually turned the corner and started trading up a few pennies. And as you can see here, it's going through a golden cross right now. I think that this is a exceptional discovery story. Really glad to have them on as a sponsor because I'll be able to do a series of interviews with the management like I did on earlier this week. Again, that's another one you can find on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or you can also find it on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. All right, so those are the companies that I interviewed this week. Some of the other companies had news out, and the one that really jumps off the page is Paycor. Paycor announced an $8 million bought deal financing, and the next day they doubled it to $16 million. I think the enthusiasm for that financing is because of the project that they have in Eureka, Nevada. It's right beside where I-80 Gold has made an impressive discovery of a CRD that has excellent grades of the CRD metals, which are your silver, lead, and zinc. But then it also has an overprint of high-grade gold, bonanza-grade gold, actually. And Paycor has the same thing on their property. It's a CRD. It has high-grade silver, lead, zinc, and an overprint of high-grade to bonanza-grade gold. And this is quite a unique combination because in most CRDs, you're not going to see that bonanza-grade gold. They're are usually zinc, lead, and silver. But what happened is that the gold mineralization and the CRD mineralization followed the same structures up towards the surface, and that became the path of least resistance. And those cracks in the earth are what allows those fluids to make their way up. And in this case, you have the gold and the CRD mineralization following the same path of least resistance through those cracks of rock. What's interesting as well is that the network of faulting that is goes through Paycor, and it also goes to I-80 Gold's ground, and also the right kind of rock that's permeable, meaning it's like a sponge that absorbs the fluids with those metals in them, and then allows it to expand out as it gets closer to surface. And so Paycor is onto one of these special situation CRDs. If you look at the rock value, the metals in the rock, these things have off the chart values of metals in the rock, and it's really turning into a world-class discovery for both I-80 Gold and for Paycor. And so Paycor was able to get a $16 million bought deal financing. I can't wait when it closes to hear who got into it, but I'll just have to wait for that. And by the way, Christina McCarthy and I are going to do an interview on Monday or Tuesday. Paycor is a sponsor of my website, so been really fortunate to do a series of interviews with her. And with this amount of money in the treasury, they'll definitely be able to do a lot of drilling to further expand on their exceptional CRD with the high-grade gold overprint. And I think 2023 is going to see them have a tremendous news flow. As you can see, the company's only been trading since April of 2022. Their 50-day moving average is on an exceptionally powerful move, still trading well above its 50-day moving average. In fact, the financing is above the 50-day moving average. So lots of good things going on with Paycor. Stay tuned for the next interview that I do with Christina. Alrighty, next company is Blackrock Silver. Blackrock Silver was a company that I picked in my tax loss sellings picks right around here. Let's say at about 45 cents. They had a nice breakout on the last couple days of the week, and are now trading at around 60 cents, 59, I think they closed at. But nice pick for the tax loss selling picks. You know, often I see these tax loss selling picks within about a month to two after the tax loss selling pressure is over, that they often are up 100 to 200% within a couple months of the tax loss selling season be over. And that wouldn't surprise me, because look at the kind of news the company puts out. They just had news out the other day. There they are, Blackrock. So Blackrock Silver increases the Silver Cloud's Northwest Canyon discovery intersect by 33% to 70 grams of gold over 1.5 meters following receipt of metallic screen results. So in these high-grade situations, sometimes you have to do what's called, they originally had reported 52.62 grams. So then they put it through, they crush it up, and they put it through a metallic screen, and they are able to put more material through that process than they do in a normal assaying, where they only assay a little tiny portion. So these bigger samples in metallic screening are more representative of what the actual grade of gold is there, and they got a pretty nice kick when they did the metallic screening. So their Northwest Canyon project, or the Silver Cloud project at the target near the Northwest Canyon, is getting very excited. In addition to exceptional gold, it also had 606 grams per ton of silver in that same intersection. So now what they have to do is they have to go in there and continue to expand on that epithermal vein where they hit this bonanza grade stuff. Also, and why I picked them as a deep value play in my year in review, 2022 year in review report, is because at their Tonopah project, they have an excellent resource, and with very high grade silver, around 450 grams per ton of silver. And what's quite interesting is that when you do a apples to apples comparison of SilverCrest's original maiden resource estimate, they came in at about the same ounces and the same, actually, Tonopah, the Blackrock project, has a higher grade. And Tonopah has a bunch of drilling because they actually extended beyond where the resource was, and they actually have pretty much doubled the footprint. And so there's a bunch of assay results to come out regarding that increasing of the footprint beyond the resource. Another thing that they plan on doing is to focus in on those veins where they know the high grade is, which is a similar game plan that SilverCrest did, and that led to them increasing their resource quite significantly, and also increasing the grade. And so they have a very exciting project at Tonopah, and also this new discovery near of the vein near their Northwest Canyon that looks quite exciting. So got a lot of good things to say about Blackrock. They are a sponsor of my show. And you can check them out on my YouTube channel as well that I mentioned earlier. I'll mention it again for those that are just watching this segment. YouTube, it's Rocks and Stocks News, and on Substack, it's rocksandstocks.substack.com. Alrighty, so now I'm going to move on to a company that I also picked in my tax loss selling stocks back in here when it was trading at about let's say 7 cents. It's almost doubled already. What moved things nicely the other day was they had a news release out. Firefox Gold tests new drill orientation and hits more high grade gold, including 13.09 grams over 15.5 meters at their project in Finland. They had several intersections there that they announced and showed you some good looking gold core. You can see some nice sulfides in there. I've reached out to their chairman, and I'm trying to get an interview with them, hopefully early next week. The reason that I'm bullish on this company is that they're in a very good country. Finland there's been a lot of successes with gold exploration in Finland over the last 5 years or so. Rupert is one of those companies that have done just exceptionally well. There's other companies that are doing well, and these guys have a very large land package in Finland. They've found a lot of high-grade gold. This isn't their first time, and it's had a significant breakout. It's now trading above the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. It looks like they're on a path to a golden cross within the next 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm going to hopefully have their chairman on a show here pretty quickly so we can dig deeper into that news release and also get an idea of what they have coming up. Okay, so the next company I'm going to talk about is Golden Lake. And Golden Lake is right beside Paycor, which I mentioned earlier, just announced that they've done a $16 million bought deal financing. And they, to Paycor's north is I-80 Gold, where they have a CRD with high grades of silver, lead, zinc, and an overprint of Bonanza, high grade to Bonanza grades of gold. Same thing with Paycor, high grade CRD with an overprint of high grade gold. And the same thing with Golden Lake. They also have a high grade CRD with an overprint of high grade gold. Now, I'm just going to pull up their news release because I wanted to show you guys something. Just bear with me a second here. Golden Lake, there we go. Investors' latest press release. So, Golden Lake obtains high-grade gold, silver, lead, and zinc assays from sampling on its Jewel Ridge. So they did some sampling and maximum values of 45.2 grams of gold, 546 grams of silver, and combined lead and zinc of 25.2%. Their Eureka Tunnel location, 11.2 grams of gold, 1,460 grams of silver, and 4.6% lead zinc combined. But then they also got other targets on the project, also got these indications that they're also sitting on one of these high-grade CRDs with your lead, zinc, and silver, as well as an overprint of gold. So, I mean, what it basically comes down to is they're in a hell of an area right now. They already know that they have drilled into one CRD with high-grade silver, lead, and zinc, and looks like they've confirmed that potential near the Eureka Tunnel, but now they've showed that their other sampling shows the same kind of stuff on other targets on the property. So as you can see here, they had a significant breakout in November. Here, I'll do it this way. There you go. So early November, they blasted off, and this was sort of in sympathy with what was going on with I-80 Gold and Paycor. They blasted through their 200-day moving average. They're now trading significantly above the 200-day, and the 50-day is on a very bullish trajectory. Within a day or two, or probably on Monday, they'll go through the Golden Cross. And yeah, I can see a lot of great things for the performance of this company, because their neighbors to the north have multiples of their valuation, and these guys look like they have something very similar to the CRDs that both Paycor to their immediate north, and north of Paycor is I-80 Gold. These guys look like they have another important CRD with the overprint of high-grade gold, and possibly more to be found. So that's Golden Lake. They are a sponsor of my website, and I'm also an advisor to the company. I'm very bullish about what's the potential of this company, and I'm glad to be an advisor and have them as a sponsor. Okay. The final company that had news out this week, they have come onto my radar screen very rapidly, is Faraday Copper. As you can see here, the stock has been on a very good move since it bottomed in September, broke out above the 50-day moving average in late October, and then recently had a breakout above the 200-day moving average, and they're probably only a day or two away from a Golden Cross. Now, what got the market and my attention was on January 17th, so about 4 days ago, Faraday Copper reports 15 meters at 10.83% copper, 1.65 grams of gold, and 55.62 grams of silver at their Copper Creek project in Arizona. Arizona is known for some big copper mines, so definitely elephant country. And it looks like these guys are onto something very impressive. As you can see, there's a resource here, and this is what's called a pit shell. And inside this pit shell is where they have a resource. But this drilling that they just announced is well below the pit shell, contained in what they call their copper prince breccia. It looks like what I also found interesting is that gold was found right at the edge. I mean, that copper was found right at the edge of the breccia. It'll be interesting as they poke some deeper holes down there, how this high grade acts at depth. Already have a nice pit shell developed there with the resource. Look at those massive sulfides. Wow, really nice looking stuff. Some really good intersections. Look at this one, 21.9% copper, 5 grams of gold, 201 grams of silver. This one here, 18.05% copper. They're onto something pretty special here. And because it's in the land of the elephants, this is the kind of thing that catches the market's imagination. I'm going to work towards getting them on an interview, because I'm a big fan of copper. But what's hard for me is to find a lot of good copper exploration stories. There just aren't enough out there, which is indicative of the problem with the supply chain of copper. There's not enough new discoveries being made. There's not enough new projects in the pipeline to be developed. There's not enough being developed, and the mines are all getting old and need to replace the copper that they've been mining out. And the supply chain is down to days or hours of supply in the warehouses like the London Metal Exchange. And did I pull up copper? Let's pull up copper while I'm talking about a copper company. I think I did, but just in case I didn't, look at the performance of copper of late. This move here was really because the Chinese have lifted some of their restrictions due to COVID and sort of back to business, and went through a golden cross right here. I think copper, I think it's very undervalued at anything under $5 a pound. And I think it's going to go a lot higher than that because you've got demand coming from Southeast Asia for the, modernization of those economies, China, India, and other places. Then you got the electrical car revolution that's going to consume a lot of copper. So those things combined, put copper in a very undersupplied and strong demand. That's why you're seeing this spike. And I think copper is going to have a great year. And I'm always on the hunt for more good copper stories. So hopefully we can get Faraday, FDY, on the show soon. I'll reach out to them and see if I can get them on an interview here in the not too distant future. But as you can see, really nice performance on these guys. Who did they? FDY. Faraday Copper. There we go. So yeah, just a beautiful trend on this one. I think I had the wrong chart up earlier, but here's the correct one. Faraday Copper, and as you can see, golden cross, and a nice movement of both the 200-day and the 50-day moving averages. Oh, that's what the problem is. I don't know why it does this, but sometimes it will change the 200-day on me. And there you go. Now I know I'm on the right chart. So there you go. That's the Faraday story. Okay. A company that's been on my mind a lot lately is SilverCrest. And the reason that I'm so interested in SilverCrest, I'm going to start with their story. So SilverCrest, a number of years ago, was just a tiny little junior exploration company. Back in 2016, they were way down here. Then they blasted off to this high of around $14 or $15, actually $16. And that was due to the discovery of the Las Chispas mine in Mexico. Then they went through the development discount window here, and of the Lassonde curve. The Lassonde curve is basically, you got two big moves in the evolution of a discovery. The first one is on your discovery, then there's a development discount window where it comes down, and then you start production and you have the next big move. And they're right here in early November is when they went into full commercial production. Now, with the institutions, a lot of times these big investors, they need to see a quarter or two of production numbers to then get excited. I think they're run by bean counters a lot of times, not mining people, but nonetheless, that gives investors an opportunity to get in there before the big institutions start driving up the price, because they see how much of a cash machine Las Chispas is, and they're basically they're producing silver at less than $7 an ounce, and they're producing at over 700 grams per ton. That makes for a cash machine of a mine. And I think for investors that want exposure to a silver and gold mining company with low costs of production, high grade, and high margins, that's got a cash machine of a mine, SilverCrest is the kind of company you want to look at. And as you can see, since they announced full commercial production, the trend has been going upwards. And recently they went through through a golden cross here. I still think that this company is super cheap. You don't get to turn on cash machines of mines very often. And when you have a cash machine, those are the kind of companies that outperform their peers quite significantly. And because they have such low costs and high profit margins, and that's exactly what SilverCrest has. So that's one reason that I'm really excited, talking and thinking about SilverCrest a lot lately. The second reason is that the company where I'm the CEO and a large shareholder, Advanced Lithium, has a 55 square kilometer property right beside SilverCrest Las Chispas mine. The Las Chispas mine is an epithermal vein cluster. And on our property, there's two known veins. One is 5 kilometers long. The other is 2 kilometers long. Both have been underexplored as far as drilling. They're very big veins, so you have to do a significant amount of drilling along the strike of those to find the boiling zones of these epithermal veins. I don't think that the boiling zones have been hit yet. In the past drilling, that's open for exploration. I'm excited about those doing further drilling into those two known veins. But then it's also important to note that these epithermal veins tend to come in clusters. There's just a significant amount of epithermal veins at Las Chispas. And then you go to us to the immediate north, and you're in the same kind of rocks, you're in the same kind of structural setting. You've got known epithermal veins. And I think we've got an exceptionally good gold and silver exploration project right beside a cash machine of a mine. And they're not the only one. Just to their immediate south is Ermitaño. And Ermitaño is an epithermal vein cluster that First Majestic is mining. It is their best performing mine. And again, low cost, high grade, high margin, epithermal vein cluster in the same kind of rocks, the same kind of structural package as extends through Las Chispas and in through Serape. Which is our project where we own 100% of a 55 square kilometer project. So I think we've got an exceptionally good gold and silver project at our Serape project. We have got no credit for it, as you can see in our stock price. Now, what's caused us this downward pressure and a long basing period was because of our lithium projects. The Mexican government is starting a national lithium company, and when people hear that, they think that all the projects are going to be nationalized. And we've got 13 potassium and lithium bearing salars in central Mexico. We've got protection in 2 areas. One is that what if they try to take the projects away from us, it violates the Mexican Constitution, which states that they are not allowed to retroactively change the mining laws to affect projects in good standing. We're one of only 3 companies with lithium projects that are in good standing in the entire country. The second protection that we have is the Canada-US-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. And so we've got legal protections. I think there's going to be a lucrative solution to that problem. But in the meantime, I want to roll up our sleeves and get working on our gold and silver project at Serape. Lately, we've been getting a little more attention as I've been talking more about what's the project Serape that we picked up a few months ago. What we've been doing with it lately is we've been compiling all the data from the historical work, and we're going to have that available on our website in the not too distant future. I think you're going to be impressed with what you see. So stay tuned for that. All righty. Now I'm going to go quickly into a few companies with pending news. Sokoman Minerals. Sokoman has been trending up nicely. They had a big breakout because they announced a bonanza grade hits over thick intersections at their Moosehead project in Newfoundland. They're at an exciting juncture because it looks like now that they're down at the depth and have the geological structures, one goes this way, the other one comes this way, and right where they connect is where they hit that bonanza grade gold. They've drilled another hole into that bonanza grade gold at their 463 zone. Those results are pending, and any day now they should be drilling to put another hole into that bonanza grade gold. As you can see, the stock has been improving quite nicely. It's got higher lows, and recently it's broken above the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. It's now trading above both of those, and it's right at a golden cross. So I think they've got the catalyst to move it quite a bit higher, and they've got results pending. Another company that has results pending is Galantas. Galantas is also looking for has found a orogenic gold system in Northern Ireland. I think that they're pretty oversold right now, and creating a very attractive entry point for investors. Basically trading right around its 52-week low. I think that this company is onto a very important orogenic gold system. Why I say that is they've got a series of tightly packed zones, and that's to the immediate south is one of these big crustal cracks in the earth that are the conduits for the gold-bearing fluids to make their way up, path of least resistance, if you will. And then as it got close to surface, they've got these series of veins that are in tight, close proximity to each other. I think ultimately what's happening there is that they're connected at depth, and how they can target that is they found a lot of what are called dilation zones in the Kearney and the Joshua vein where they've been drilling. And the way these dilation zones are cracks in the earth, are cracks that allow the fluids to pool up. They can use the high-grade mineralization in those dilation zones to target deeper. And that's the real, the real story to me with Galantas. As they follow this orogenic gold system deeper, I think that they're going to find their zones come together, and the source is likely that crack, that deep crustal crack that's to the immediate south of these series of veins. So I think that they're at a seminal moment for the exploration of a orogenic gold system. All right, another one with pending news is Walker River Resources. Galantas is a sponsor, Sokoman's a sponsor, Walker River Resources is a sponsor. Sorry, I think I mentioned all the sponsors. I've got a great group of sponsors. I'm really blessed to have such a good group of sponsors. And here's another one that's really been bucking the trend compared to its peers. A lot of its peers are still down here and they haven't made big breakouts. The reason these guys have made a breakout is they drilled 2 targets. One's their Pikes Peak target, which is a porphyry target, which is in close proximity to their Lapon Canyon project, mountain. And at the mountain, they've found wide distribution side to side on the mountain and from top to bottom. You're talking about 600 meters by about 800 meters. Inside of that, you've got a network of faulting and a big alteration zone. So that shows you that this is a big, powerful mineralizing system. It goes all the way to the top of the mountain where they hit their hotspot zone. And they recently got a series of holes into that hotspot zone. And I'm really excited to see the results from both the Pike's Peak target, which is a porphyry or a heat engine source of what could have driven that gold mineralization up the canyon and through this network of faulting. And I'm not the only one. As you can see, the stock has been performing very well since December. They've got a bunch of results pending from both the porphyry target and the Lapon Mountain. They're trading well above the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. They just recently went through a golden cross. I love to see the trajectory like this. You know, when it's a shallow, it doesn't give you as good an indicator, but when you get the trajectory like this of the 50-day, when it busts through the 200-day, it's a very bullish sign. And I think the market believes that they're going to deliver some very good results, which I think they are. Okay. And the final company, usually is the first company I talk about, because I-80 Gold is one of my favorite gold picks. And here again, you see the trajectory that this went into the golden cross at. Look at the trajectory as it comes out. Now the 200-day is starting to trend upwards as well. I did mention them earlier when I was talking about Paycor, which just announced a $16 million bought deal financing. Why I mentioned I-80 Gold is because I-80 Gold has the project just to the north of Paycor. I-80 Gold has found a fantastic CRD project, and it's got the high grades of silver, lead, and zinc, and an overprint of high-grade gold, just like what Paycor has found and just like what Golden Lake has found. This is all these companies are around Eureka, Nevada. And I-80 Gold is, they've been drilling up a storm on that CRD target, and they should have results out any day now. So stay tuned for that, because I got a feeling they're going to have some more great results. And I'm not waving my arms or making uneducated guesses. That's the nature of these CRD systems. You know, they tend to have good size to them, and they tend to have very good and continuous high grade of lead, zinc, and silver, as well as in this case gold, when you can sort of target the right rock packages. And that's what they've been doing successfully since they made their first announcement of the CRD. And I think that will continue. So I'm really excited to see their next batch of assay results. And it's right now trading almost right at the 50-day moving average. And if the results are what I'm anticipating they should, it should bounce nicely off of that 50-day and keep on this trajectory quite a bit higher. They've got 3 world-class projects. 2 of them are on the same project package, which is the Ruby Hill project. And the CRD is to the south of a historic pit, and to the west of a historic pit. They found right underneath the pit is their 426 zone, and right underneath that is their Ruby Deeps, where they're finding lots of gold in both the 426 and Ruby Deeps. Ruby Deeps has what looks like something that you can bulk underground mine at a grade that would be very profitable. Same thing with 426. It's got oxide gold in it that they can produce very, very profitably. Then you look over at their Granite Creek project. That's another world-class project that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's already got a strike length on their South Pacific zone that's over 600 meters long. Thick zone with high grade, exceptional continuity of the high grade. And if you keep on following that mineralization to the north, you run into the Turquoise Ridge mine, which is a 25 million ounce mine and resource deposit in the same kind of rocks and in this associated with the same fault. So it's easy to say that Ruby Hill, or I mean, Granite Creek could have a multi-million ounce gold project on their hands, just like Ruby Deeps and the 426. And then they got this CRD. In my career, I've never seen a company with simultaneously exploring and developing 3 world-class projects all at the same time. I think i-80 Gold is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company, and right now they're trading at below $1 billion. I can see a lot of great things in their future, and stay tuned for their next news release. Okay, so I think I covered enough for today. I also did a bunch of research reports this week. The reason I'm putting out a lot of content these days is because I can see some really important things happening. A lot of 2022, I was talking about how oversold the gold stocks were, and the similarities, the valuations were very similar to what I saw in the year 2000, which preceded the 2001 to about 2012 bull market for gold and other metals. And in 2000, the valuations were at record lows. In 2022, we saw valuations at record lows. But since the breakout has started, I've been on top of it and talking about the bottoming of the gold price and silver and the movement upwards and it moving towards a golden cross, which they both have done. And a lot of that argument came down to me thinking that the US dollar was dramatically overbought on the back of all the interest rate increases by the Federal Reserve and the likelihood that they were getting close to the end of that program. And as time goes on, I just become more and more confident of that. You look at the housing sales, they've dropped off a cliff. The yield curves are all inverted. The politicians are fighting over debt ceilings. Just a lot of things to believe that the US dollar is headed lower. And with gold priced in the US dollar being the most watched price, demand is, or the price of gold is going up dramatically. And these companies are often still, even now, even though we're starting to see a transition to a more bullish market, they're still trading at deep, deep discounts, especially when you get into those middle and smaller middle tier and smaller companies. They have excellent valuations for those that want to get in, and fortunate to have a lot of good ones that have been bucking the trend. The reason they're bucking the trend is they've got good assets, they're working on those assets, and they're eager to tell their story. That's why I invite a bunch of them on to be sponsors of my shows, is because they are doing the things that buck the trend. I think they are leaders going into a better market, and I think they'll continue to be leaders. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. Important for you to do your homework, speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. And I really always talk about the importance of doing your homework. The most successful investors that I've seen in this business that I've been in since 1993 in the mining business are those that do their homework, understand the companies that they're invested in, have a reasonable time frame to success. Those are the ones that do the best in this business, and I encourage you to be one of those. A good place for you to start your homework is, I talked about a bunch of my sponsors today, some that are not sponsors but are picks in my reports. And I've talked to the management of a bunch of companies. You can find those interviews on my YouTube channel, and also the research or the sector reports I do at Rocks and Stocks News on YouTube. And you can also find me at rocksandstocks.substack.com. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.